Diplomacy won't be easy, but if diplomacy doesn't work, there's containment, and I'll say it, there's also something called mutual deterrence, and it's better than war. In 2003, there was a Swiss-mediated negotiating offer, and I'm not going to go into details on any of this stuff. I'm going to be around this afternoon if people want to talk about any of this. In 2003, there was a Swiss-mediated Iranian negotiating proposal which addressed all the common issues. We called it a grand bargain in the want community. Regime security for the Iranians, Iraqi-related issues, Iranian support for terror. And you know, there's a former head of the Israeli Mossad, the intelligence community. He has a wonderful way of looking at the Iranian issue. And he's someone who's advocating that Israel should encourage America to talk to Iran, not the opposite. And he says there's one great advantage of religious regimes. It's easier for them to be flexible because whatever they do, God is always with them. Syria. America removed its ambassador from Syria in 2005. Hasn't had a dialogue since. Israel, by the way, is now talking to Syria with Turkish mediations. The Americans have said, we don't want to be involved with that. If you want to do it, you're crazy. Your problem. Kirk talked about the refugees. Syria has, I think, the largest number of Iraqi refugees. There's that issue to talk about. There's stability in Lebanon. There's Iraq. There's the Iranian relationship. America's not talking to Syria. And don't let the Israeli-Palestinian conflict continue to fester. I'm not going to detail the solutions, but we know what they are. I've been a negotiator. Last time Israelis and Palestinians officially negotiated. I've done a track 2 exercise where we came up with a detailed model, the Geneva Initiative for a solution. We know what the solution is. There's a majority of Israelis and Palestinians who support that solution. And even Hamas now is groping towards a two-state solution. And let me just mention Hamas, because I think the approach to political Islam has been one of, amongst many, the biggest mistakes. When we look at an undifferentiated sea of green hostility, we magnify the size of the enemy by saying all of you are Islamo-fascists, and we limit our potential allies. We have to see the differences within political Islam. Hamas is not Al-Qaeda. The Muslim Brothers participate in elections. Sure, it's very difficult with them, but we have to try and reach agreed rules of the game, because some of the political Islamists may be the best bulwark against Al-Qaeda. Difficult thing to get one's head around, but they may well be. And they're going to be the ones who benefit when there are democratic elections, and anyone who didn't foresee that had never been to the Middle East. Oh yes, that makes up most of the people who are running Middle East policy during this administration. And I want to... Look, I think sometimes the Israel-America relationship resembles the best friend and the drunk driver. And you give them the keys and say, have another slam of tequila before you go home as well. But I want to say one other thing. There is a problem with the way this is all structured. Peter Layden talked about thinking about new ideas and restructuring things. I don't think it can work when you're asking an occupied people to negotiate their deoccupation with their occupier and provide security for the occupier in the process of deoccupation. I don't see how that framing works. I want to close by saying something about the domestic politics of this. Yes, we've talked about Obama's new fundraising. Yes, we've talked about Netroots organizing. The Middle East is more important now. You can't avoid it. And I want to tell you about something that I think 100 days ago, which is an attempt to give political expression to the peace community, the pro-Israel, pro-peace, pro-getting a solution, pro-getting a Palestinian state community here. It's called J Street. I'm going to end in a moment by showing a 1-minute video if Drummond doesn't strangle me. 50,000 people signed up in the first 100 days. It's moving money to candidates so that if you're a progressive, you don't have to do an ideological somersault on this issue. And we just had our first success with a wonderful person just elected to Congress, Donna Edwards, who I'm sure many of you are familiar with. Not that we didn't get her elected, she got herself elected, but we also backed her, and she was happy to have that support so that she could stand up on this issue. There is no support network for progressives between here and the region that mirrors what the other side have. The other side have the neocons, the Christian right, the hawkish Jewish organizations, funding settlers, lobbying for the Chalabis of this world. American policies suffocate progressive movements from all sides in the region, Israel and elsewhere, and there's no comparative support network. I don't want to make this a plug for J Street. I do want to show you 1 minute of that video, and then I'll close with one sentence.
What is this two-state solution?
Is this your voice?
Raghead talks tough. Raghead faces consequences.
Is this what it means to be pro-Israel?
If America does not start pressuring Israel to give up land, I believe that God will bring this nation into judgment, because I believe what this book says.
He was dividing God's land. And I would say, woe unto any prime minister of Israel who takes a similar course.
For too long, these have been the loudest voices in American politics when it comes to Israel and the Middle East. They say theirs is the only way to be pro-Israel. They attack those who do not conform to their views. But do they speak for you? Together, we can change this. At J Street, we believe a negotiated end to Arab-Israeli conflict is the only guarantee of Israel's security and is essential to U.S. interests in the Middle East. We are the voice of mainstream Americans who support real security, real peace, real hope, a real future for Israel and all its neighbors.
That's it. Look, the bad news is this issue can derail the best laid plans of progressives, I believe. The good news is it can be resolved. And let me end by saying this. Let's end the language of being pro-Israel or pro-Palestine. Let's be pro-ending the occupation, pro-peace, and pro-getting this done, because it can be done. Thank you very much.